That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
On May 24th, 2006, Mark Whistler, Stephen King, and George Rayburn had run into each other on the 8th day after the disappearance of their mutual friend, Rey Rivera. Prior to the 24th, the men had been active in handing out missing person flyers and putting up posters in the downtown Baltimore area. The group decided to check out the parking garage adjacent to the historic Belvedere Hotel near where Ray's vehicle had been found abandoned days earlier. From the top of the 7-level parking structure, Stephen and George, looking out onto the 3-floor attachment of the Belvedere Hotel below, would see 2 brown flip-flops that would lead them to the discovery of Ray's body and bring the search for their friend to a tragic close. This case file joined the theorists as they raise more questions than answers in The Curious Case of Rey Rivera.
Welcome to Alien Theorists Theorizing Case File 161, The Curious Case of Rey Rivera. I'm Braden.
I'm Zell.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Andrew. So is every unexplained murder we're going to do the curious case?
I was just thinking that. God damn it.
Are we recycling these things here?
That's what he put in the notes, so that's what it is.
I know. I saw that. I'm like, what? Yeah, okay, cool.
I think it lets people know, then they kind of the fans who are in the know kind of are in the know of what we're going to be talking about.
Well,
so it's along the lines of Elisa Lam, little Elisa Lam.
Or it's just a weird death.
It's only the second time we've done it, so it's not too bad.
I guess
in 2 more case files, if it happens again, we'll have to step in.
Yeah, case file 162, The Curious Case of the Northern Lights.
Case file 163, The Curious Case of Roswell, New Mexico.
Did we already introduce ourselves?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Jesus.
Had a couple too many of these wobbly pops tonight already.
Well, you're on the black flies hard, eh?
Yeah, the last few podcasts, you've been a little by the end. Whew, almost Mitra.
Almost.
Oh, the last one.
The last one was your eyes were fucking looking 2 different ways.
Where they
did. They were closed sometimes when you're speaking. It's good shit.
Piano tie on, shirt off. It was good luck.
People are always screaming for Meat Draw Braden. We're just giving what the people what they
shit
want.
Got sloppy.
Give them what they want.
Just giving the fans what they want.
Are you not entertained? It's your eyes going both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. What are you going to do? I can't do it. I have no control over this. Right? I just drink, and then if he comes out, he comes out. Sometimes he doesn't.
Braden is a force of nature.
Yeah.
You cannot control him.
Sometimes Meatrop Braden takes the wheel. I have
He's
no
like a
control over him.
tornado or Godzilla.
Listen, that's his secret. He's always Mitra.
Anytime he's drinking. Water is half vodka.
Oh, this is too much. All right, let's get into this one. Rey Rivera.
Let's get into this curious case.
Let's get in. I'm curious.
May 24th, 2006, the body of one Rey Rivera was identified, found inside the historic Belvedere Hotel in Mount Vernon neighborhood of Baltimore, Maryland.
Spoiler.
So that's it. That's as much as I'll go. That's as far as I'll go.
Well, we know, Dan, listen, we know you want to get further into it because you love true crime. So we won't interrupt you anymore. You take over. Paint us a picture.
Not non-committal grunt. I was like, that's it. That's the go signal. There you go.
So there it is. That's how it starts. This man disappears. They find him.
Right. He was missing for a week, and then May 26, 2006, he was found in a room, dead. Surprise. Spoiler.
And now this is where it gets curious.
Take it all the way back, Andrew.
So what is it? Officially ruled a suicide, but there are a bunch of stuff that most recently the Netflix docuseries Unsolved Mysteries brought up a bunch of points to light, or kind of.
So actually, it's actually been ruled undetermined. The Maryland police or the Baltimore police kind of were, erring on the side of suicide, and the medical examiners were unable to conclude that it was a suicide. There was no definitive proof that he commit suicide or he was murdered or anything in between. So they kind of it's actually still open right now as undetermined death.
Right. So the final case, which we'll get to after we go back to the backstory, is undetermined death of this Rey Rivera.
Yeah. So who is Rey Rivera? Rey Rivera was a 32-year-old aspiring filmmaker, family man. He was engaged to this woman named Allison. They were attempting to build a life for each other in Los Angeles. And you look at it, 32 years old, which is something, everybody on this podcast is kind of in a similar age range as Rey at this point in time. You know what I mean? Everybody's kind of either getting married, looking at starting a family around that age. And Rey was planning to do the same thing. And unfortunately for him, he was kind of in the middle of writing screenplays, putting on plays, that type of stuff. And unfortunately for him, that wasn't really paying the bills. So he was kind of forced into a situation to look into more of a career, right? Like something that he can fill his bank account, something to start a family on, and then maybe he can pursue his film career a little bit later. And it turns out Rey had this childhood friend, a guy he grew up with. They played water polo together. They went to prom together, like best friend. His friend, Frank Porter Stansberry. Now, Porter had been trying to recruit Rey to come out and work for him in Baltimore for years. And Rey was kind of like, you know what, listen, I'm going to keep trying to live the dream. I want to be a filmmaker. He's a creative guy. And he kind of stuck to his guns until he got to a point where he's like, listen, this isn't paying off. So he took his buddy Frank up on this opportunity. So in 2004, Rey and Allison moved to Baltimore from Los Angeles so he could work for Frank's company, Stansberry and Associates. Now, Stansberry Associates is from, you guys might know better than I would, but it's a financial services company. So they'd give you like investment advice, research. They'd help you basically invest in stocks.
So I was actually, it's funny because I was actually unclear about that too, because Rey actually worked freelance for them for like a newspaper or a quarterly that they would put out, basically saying a little write up about like stocks that were in the dumps that were expected to take off and you should buy them now.
Yeah.
Which was actually, it was called the Rebound Report.
I'm picturing, remember that crazy guy on TV who would scream at you and tell you what stocks to buy? I'm just picturing a,
yeah, I know exactly.
What was that fucking guy's name? He would just scream at you like, sell!
Yeah. He was on like Fox and Friends or some shit after Mad Money or whatever.
Yeah, was it Mad Money?
Mad Money sounds right.
Yeah, so he's just doing a tamed down newspaper version of what stocks have gone down, but they're about to rebound, and what to invest in to like better the profit is what he's doing.
So Rey takes this job, moves out to Baltimore. He's there for about 3 months away from Allison, right? It's taken her I'm assuming it's due to her job back in LA. So she's got to finalize things. They move to Baltimore, spends a little bit of time alone, makes some new friends. And you know what I mean? Right off the bat, we start hearing that maybe, from these associates that he's made or friends that he's talking to back in LA, that he's not really happy with the job. He expresses that he's not really into the 9 to 5. He's a creative guy, and it's maybe just not what he was looking for or what he was expecting.
Dude, it's literally anytime you talk to Zell when he's had to put on the tool belt for more than 1 day a week.
Dude, I can relate to this guy 100%. You come out of school, you got to get a job. So because you need to make money, you can't, no one just, it's very rare that your passion takes you to instant financial security overnight. It's 1 in a million. So
right?
Yeah.
Like I never thought I'd be getting fucking pooped on for a living. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just not, like, I did not see that happening. That's just not worth it.
Yeah.
So anyways. So, yeah. So in the summer of 2005, after about 18 months, Ray's been in this position. He decides to leave the job editing the newsletter, the Rebound Report, and instead focusing on building a video production company. Now Dan, do you know it's SEBA? Does that sound right?
Yep.
Yeah, is that good?
Yep.
So SEBA Video Productions.
Dan doesn't even know. He's just agreeing.
Yeah, sure.
I know. He's Hispanic.
I know the name of his video production company is SEBA. It's the National Tree of Puerto Rico.
Exactly.
What?
See? Yeah, he's Hispanic. He knows.
Yep, he's from Puerto Rico. Apparently, his family is from Puerto Rico.
And what's the SEBA?
SEBA, it's the National Tree of Puerto Rico.
Oh.
So he leaves his cushy job with Porter Stansberry, his best friend, and decides to start this video production company. And from all the accounts that I've read, it was an amicable split. Porter wasn't upset. There was no resentment. You know what I mean? He just decided to.
These guys were best friends, right?
Oh, brothers.
Like, and the way I kind of thought about it is I was like, well, it'd be essentially like if, one of us were, say I had a business and I was like, hey, Zell, I know you're trying to do your fucking couple of monkeys shit or whatever. Why don't you come work for me while you're trying to make that work? And then after a while, you're like, hey man, this is just not for me. Like, I want to go do my own thing. And I'm like,
and then 6 months later, you end up through the roof of a hotel.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not
Spoiler
mad.
alert.
No, that's fine. You can fucking leave whenever you want. I don't care. Doesn't bug me in the slightest.
So in order to start SEBA, Ray has to take out a $15,000 cash advance on Allison's credit card so he can buy equipment and whatnot and start the company. And I guess this company that he's producing videos for, Agora, he's under contract for Agora, which is that's the company that owns Stansberry and Associates. Does that sound right to you guys?
Their subsidiary.
Yeah.
Subsidiary.
Whatever is a subsidiary of Agora. Yeah.
Okay. So he starts this new business.
And then Ray started his business, which was a subsidiary of that as well.
Fast forward to November 5th, 2005, Ray and Allison get married in Puerto Rico. We already know he's got the tree is the name of his company. Puerto Rico is a very important part of his life. And then in 2006, Ray and Allison decide to return to LA to plan to move back. Right. So I guess Baltimore's not the best fit. They're not enjoying it. They want to go home.
Well, he wants to take his video career further. He wants to go, you're back to Tinseltown.
Well, exactly. Like he actually finished his screenplay Midnight Polo, which he really wanted to take back to LA and start shopping around and see if he could get a deal for. And that's when things start going a little bit different, a little bit weird. So when they return from LA, Ray starts acting really odd, according to Allison. He's very edgy and nervous. According to Allison, he began to go everywhere with her, wouldn't let her out of his sight.
Yeah, she was really worried. He was really worried about her.
He was very agitated, irritated, restless. His friends described him as a reckless spender and terrible with money during this time as well, which is weird because everybody else before that was, really said that Ray was a really frugal guy. So we're having a really uncharacteristic behavior from him all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Which is quite bizarre.
So, and this is noticed as soon as they come back to LA. It wasn't
from LA.
Yeah, exactly. And for an example, Allison decides Allison's training for a triathlon. So she wants to go run at a nearby track. So she tells Ray, okay, I'm going to go train for the triathlon. going to do some laps. And Ray insists on going with her, which is bizarre. She's like, I don't understand. Like, you'd never accompanied me on this before. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to watch me? Like, it's kind of weird. Allison tells him, like, don't worry about it. Everything's fine. And Ray's like, not a fucking chance. I'm going. So Ray sits in the bleachers and starts reading a book. And oddly enough, a man enters the track area. And right away, Ray freaks out. He stands up and like starts darting his way down to the track to go see who this fucking guy is and why he's talking to Allison. Oddly enough, it ended up becoming nothing. You know, the guy left. There was no incident or anything like that. But just right there, it's just odd behavior, right?
So a straight change of character. He becomes like an overbearing partner. He doesn't want her to leave his sight. Like, he doesn't want to leave her alone. He's more worried than he normally would be.
The perfect word to describe this for me is paranoid.
Gotcha.
It's also that's interesting you say that, because I had watched an interview with Allison about the track, that day on the track, and she did say someone talked to her, but then I had thought that, and maybe I misheard when I was listening to it, but I had heard that she said that afterwards this person, a stranger, went and talked to Ray. And then Ray was visibly upset. And she was like, well, what's going on? He's like, well, nothing. I don't know. That it's nobody. But he was like genuinely upset after this meeting with this supposed stranger.
Right.
Wow. And did she say anything about the conversation that she had with this stranger?
Nothing that she could recall, other than just like a hi in passing as he strolled. And then Ray and him exchanged some sort of conversation.
Another thing to add too, it's like Ray, this guy's like 6'5", 260.
He's fucking huge.
Goddamn unit.
Brick shithouse.
He's a beast.
He's a fucking defensive lineman. Like, he's a D end.
Well,
like,
no, he's
terrifying.
not. He's a water polo player, but
that's why he's built like one.
I don't
I mean?
know
Like,
if that's fair
dude.
if you're playing water polo and you're fucking, your feet are on the ground.
Yeah, no shit.
Right? You're just running.
He'd have to play in the deep end the whole time.
Yeah. He's just like this. He's like this all the time in the water, crocodiling.
So what you're saying is that Ray's got a couple CGs on his abdomen.
Oh yeah, dude's a brick shithouse.
Yeah, he was just a big boy.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had any CGs.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that guy that he comes like sprinting up that just said hi to his old lady, just like, oh, sprinting
shit.
down the bleachers.
Not doing nothing. It's all good.
Yeah. Fastest lap that guy ever ran, I bet. Fuck. So, during this time too, which is something that we should bring up, is this whole, like, this last week since they got back from LA, Ray's been spending the majority of his time reading this book called The Builders. And this is a book about masonry.
Oh.
Which is interesting. So, May 14th, Mother's Day, Ray and Allison go to church. Upon returning home, Allison overhears a conversation. It's Ray leaving a voicemail, and he says, "Hey man, give me a call back. I finally got it all figured out." And it turns out later that this call was made to Porter Stansberry, his
best friend.
So she
best friend.
She just overhears him say this. She doesn't really get the context of the call. She just finds it strange.
Which is interesting, because it must be strange enough for it to stand out. Like, this is peculiar.
And here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. At the time, I guarantee you, it was a nothing phone call for her. Nothing. It was just like, oh yeah. But then, after Ray's untimely death, she starts going and she's starting to think about all this back stuff. Now this plays like a weird, like, well, now that I'm thinking about what did he figure out? What was the issue? What was going on? Like, all these things obviously come to light for her as she's thinking back on this.
I've got to think that she must have, like, cause so he's octane bizarre. Everything seems everything's weird.
He's octane bizarre.
He's octane very bizarre. And what, you know what I mean? So I feel like you would have to, like, I can't fucking remember listening to, Jessica's upstairs having conversations. I'm like, fucking go in the other room. I'm trying to watch the game. You know what I mean? Like, she's obviously like paying close attention to him right now.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, she's now on like his behavior and his mood has changed. Like she's probably noticed this, right? So now,
Totally.
But you know what? Actually, now that you're mentioning this seems suspicious to me in itself that she can remember this stuff. Cause like you said, Andrew, I would never like passing like,
not a chance.
Yeah. Afterwards, like if something were to happen afterwards, you'd be like, well, what happened this last week leading up to this? And maybe you would pick that out and maybe you would have tidbits. But the fact that she was all of a sudden like, you know, very concerned with these issues and like recalled all these things. It actually is like, now that we're thinking about it and talking about it, I'm like, that is very weird because I'm like, if you asked me about a conversation I had last week, if like one of my coworkers vanished tomorrow and they're like, Braden, we need to know the last thing you said to him, I'd be like, I have no idea.
got me.
Unless they
No
were
idea.
acting extremely bizarre and you were paying a
unless he
little
was
bit
like-
closer attention to them, right?
If he was like, hey, Braden, won't see me again. And I was like, yeah, see you tomorrow. And then he didn't come in. I'd be like, he told me yesterday he wouldn't see me again. And I said, I'll see you tomorrow. That was weird.
Yeah, well,
like, yeah, and that concept, but
exactly.
like a week, like the stuff she's saying doesn't seem that strange for me to be like, oh, I just remember that. But maybe she's
unless it's
a jealous person.
Well, but unless it's that much out of character for him, you know what I mean? Like unless it's like just like a flip of the coin, like he's a completely different person since this trip. You know, never been jealous, never been fucking paranoid, nothing like that. All of a sudden he's being
Different
weird.
character
So
completely changes.
Let's continue on the timeline. Things start making sense. Like you know what I mean? Like on May 15th, a home alarm goes off at 1 a.m. Right? So that's kind of fucking weird. He's acting strange. He seems paranoid. And
they have it's a weird alarm system too, because they actually have like a fucking loudspeaker outside the window of their bedroom that like I'm guessing just blares like the loudest fucking noise. So instantly they're up.
Well, yeah, and it's
At 1
pressure.
in the morning.
It's pressure censored. So like they're saying like that only goes off if someone tampers with the screen or like tries to like push on. So if you're like, I guess like if you push on the door, you push on the window, it would trigger that sensor, and then fucking hurricane sirens go off.
fucking raid fucking siren.
And as far as I could tell, that alarm, it's not like it was a sensitive alarm. It wasn't like triggering every night. This is like a new thing.
They said it had never ever gone off ever before since they lived there. Not once.
You already have this guy who's having this irrational paranoia and this odd behavior. And now his alarms are going off at 1 a.m. in the morning.
And so Allison, like an interesting thing about this first alarm is that the first alarm, spoiler, they go downstairs and Ray's got a bat, and Allison said she's never seen Ray scared like he is at this moment. You know what? Listen, I will say this. I'm a huge pussy. And if my alarm went off at 1 a.m. and I was with a significant other, I would have a bat and a knife. I'd be like, you go first. I don't want to go. Like you would see that same fear in me.
Dude, if I was Rey Rivera, I'd be like, there's a 99% chance that this motherfucker is not even close to as big as me.
Yeah, but here's the thing, dude. I guarantee you, there's big guys out there that are like, yeah, I'm big, but I literally could do nothing. I don't want to do anything, and I don't want any kind of comfort. Like there's big guys
I'm
like
big,
that. 100%.
but I have feelings and emotions. I'm sensitive.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe
Babe,
Ray's
go
like
first.
that. Like maybe's Ray. Maybe Ray is an Andrew in a just monster body.
Well, think about it too. They're in Baltimore.
That's a hard name, man. Baltimore is like
they lived in a nicer neighborhood.
But still,
Baltimore.
They
man.
lived in an area where they thought that having pressure censored loudspeaker alarms was warranted.
Was necessary.
That have never gone off. So this is the first time they've gone off. So if that's the first time it's happened, is the middle of the night. Like, of course you'd be just like right freaked out. I'm surprised you didn't have a gun. I don't know what the state carry laws in and was it Maryland? Is that the state?
Yeah.
I'm surprised
if he wanted to get a gun, he could probably get a gun.
So I'm surprised he doesn't have a gun. But he grabs a bat there's no intruder, no sign. Like call the police, and the police do a quick scan, and they say, "Oh, it's probably just a squirrel."
Just a squirrel looking for nuts.
You're like,
That's all it is.
So then May 16th comes around. Early hours, approximately 1 a.m. Again, same thing happens.
Fuck.
Right? Same thing, 2 nights in a row around the same time.
It's like someone's.
It's either somebody's trying to get at you or you're getting paranormally activated. Both things fucking terrible.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Well, okay, when I was reading into this and looking into the timeline, at this point with everything, I'm starting to think at this point that Ray thinks or has the impression that maybe someone's after him or after Allison.
Right. Alarm 2 nights in a row. The weird behavior.
Right? Doesn't want her out of his sight. Like, he's freaking the fuck out. The alarm's going off 2 nights in a row.
He's paranoid. He's fucking shitting his pants. He's not acting normal.
But it's like, and then with the alarms, like, okay, maybe before it's unwarranted, but now, 2 nights in a row, like, you have reason to be concerned. Like, if they're going off at night, why the fuck aren't they going off in the day? Like, when you're like, how do these alarms work? Do you have to set it? Like, is it just
so?
I would imagine.
Is it when anyone, like, if you're at home though and you like lock the door at like fucking six at night, lock the door, does it auto set that like now if someone tampers it, your alarms go off to let you know?
Well, you'd have to talk to the alarm company. There's different kinds. Like you can set your alarm while you're at home, but you turn off the motion sensors. You just have the windows and doors activated. So if someone like tries to break in midday your home, it would blast off. But I didn't look into what kind of.
This is, to me, even having alarm systems crazy like this, to me, it sounds unbelievable. I literally left my garage door open all day today. And I came home and I had 2 Amazon packages on my front door and my garage door was wide fucking open and not a thing was taken.
Dude, I've done that so many times.
All day.
Oh, Canada.
Like all day.
It's usually because I closed my garage door, but I'm an idiot and I left something in front of the sensor.
And you just drive away.
And just drive away, and then
that's what I did.
All my tools, a full set of finishing carpentry tools, a mountain bike, like.
Yeah, but to be fair, Zell, your truck did get stolen.
My truck got stolen. That's a whole nother story that I will not tell today.
Yeah, we all know it's in Iraq.
The fucking Taliban's got it. They're fucking driving around the desert. The cop told me all about it, but well, another time.
So that happened early morning, May 16th. Also on May 16th, Ray wakes up with Allison, makes her breakfast. Allison's actually got a business trip to go out of town. So Ray kind of helps her with her luggage, packs her up, lets her go. And later that day, Ray has a meeting in Maryland with a member of the Freemasons.
Interesting.
He goes to the lodge. He goes to the local lodge to join.
Yeah, well,
so
to
he's
talk
asking,
about joining.
Talk about it.
Yeah, he's asking questions.
In my mind, I'm thinking he's a writer. He's a filmmaker. Maybe he's working on a project and he wants to get a little more information. That's what my mind went to right away. But
well, there, like from what I've heard is that Ray believed that joining the Freemasons would like give him a leg up in the film industry because he believed that a lot of the film industry was ran by the Masons.
Well, maybe he might not be wrong.
Who knows?
I don't know.
They're pretty secretive.
From what I read too, though, it's like he always had like this fascination with secret societies and those kind of things. So maybe like, it would be easy for one of us to, say that same thing and be like, the cabals are running the world. Like, and how many times has Zell tried to sell his soul to the devil to get the pick of destiny? You know what I mean? So it's like, is this guy's just like, you know what? I'm not getting anywhere. Like I'm trying everything. I want to be a filmmaker. That's my dream. Fuck it. Right. If these cults run Hollywood, I'm going to join one of these fucking cults.
Oh, so he's at a last resort. Like I'm joining every religion. I'm joining every cult I can. I'm looking into everything. Cause why not? What's going to hurt?
Yeah,
maybe.
Well, exactly. Like he's already tried to, do something else for a living and fucking hated it. Right.
Yeah.
So he meets with the Masons, has the meeting, just goes to a bookstore and buys Freemasons for Dummies.
Of course.
Right. So where else are you going to do your research? Right. You need the dummies books. They're perfect. That's what
Dan subscribes to.
That's why he knows everything.
That's why he knows everything. Dan has the full For Dummies collection.
If you look at Dan's bookshelf, it's just like 400 For Dummies.
It's just golden yellow from wall to wall.
Solid. It's like instead of having National Geographic magazines, it's all
For Dummies.
Yeah,
For
but
dummies.
in the defense of those books, have you ever read one? They're quite knowledgeable.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
pretty good.
I can't read.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as you
man.
can tell by everything that I do in my life, I've never read one of those books because I am not good at anything. But anyways.
Should take Dan's collection.
I don't read so good.
No. So later that day, so he buys the book. He continues on his day. He phones a gentleman by the name of Adam Gold, an employee of the Chesapeake Systems, which is, I guess they book out rooms for video recording. So he books this room so he can, work on his new, I can't remember the name. Chiba? What was the name of the tree again, Dan?
Shiba.
Seba. It's like
Seba?
Seba or something like that.
Seba.
Yeah, I'm
So he
not
books-
100% sure how you pronounce it.
So he books a room for next weekend so he can do, a sponsored video conference for his employer, Stansberry Associates. So he's going on with his regular life, booking things. He's making plans. Later that night, Allison ends the day around 6:30 and calls from the hotel to check in on Ray to see, how he's doing and tell her about her day and whatnot. No answer. So Allison gets kind of concerned, and it turns out around this time, Ray and Allison actually had a guest at their house by the name of Claudia. Now, I don't think Claudia is the real name.
It was a placeholder for the documentary.
Well,
for
it
the
might be
story.
to protect her.
Right. Yeah. But we're going with Claudia.
Protect her from what, Braden? Protect her from what?
Fucking intruders coming at knocking on the door at 1 a.m.
Well, not even that, just like questions, because it's like, obviously she has a small part to play in this, but obviously she has done nothing. So
Or she's scared. Or she's scared she's going to meet Ray's face.
She didn't sign any clearance to be on Unexplained Mysteries.
So anyways, we know this woman as Claudia,
Yep.
who is their house guest. Allison describes Claudia's got her own shit going on, which means she's staying with them for a reason.
She's that friend.
Now, was she a friend?
That's what it means.
Or I've read she also might have been like a business associate, or what exactly was Claudia?
She was a friend and a business associate. I'd imagine she would have to be like, you'd have to be more than just a business associate to let somebody stay with you.
Well, yeah, but like
I'm not just going to let fucking Braden stay with me. You know what I mean? I might do a podcast with him.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
not gonna
true.
fucking hang out with the guy.
yeah, you gotta like
Yeah,
you gotta like the person, I guess, a little bit.
Right, exactly. So she tries to get a hold of Ray. No answer. So she decides to call Claudia to see, like, you know what? Have you seen Ray? It's kind of weird that he's not answering his phone. Claudia's like, you know what? Ray's not home right now. But she does state that Ray got a phone call around 6:30. So right before Allison called. And he had a brief conversation. And she heard him exclaim out loud, "Oh shit." And he ran out of the house, which seemed kind of bizarre. Ray returns then a few minutes later and then leaves again. And then the other weird stuff is Ray leaves he's in the middle of having a snack. He's got a grapefruit. He's got sour cream and onion chips. You know what I mean? So you can tell he kind of left the house in a hurry, which is a little bit weird. But Allison thinks, you know what? Like, it's not that weird because he does have a deadline for this video that he's making for Stansberry and Associates.
He literally leaves the house exactly how I leave my house at all times.
Just in a panic and a mess.
Just sour cream and onion chips, bag open, black flies all over the place.
Garbage full.
Also, he had his computer open at this time, and he had a website up that gave the time of that day's sunrise and sunset. So
He's checking out some space
you know,
news.
Listen,
Maybe.
I thought that was weird. I thought that was weird when I first heard that. I was like,
I had a instant
this has some
explanation.
significance. I was like, holy shit, what is this about? And then I was
The filmmaker.
doing some reading and stuff, and then someone on Reddit was like, Yeah, but he's a filmmaker. Lighting would be really important. That's probably something he'd want to know.
That's the golden
And I was
hour,
like,
like the hour after sunrise and the hour before sundown.
Yeah.
Well, and he'd also been he'd also been talking with different Chesapeake Systems employees about filming on the top of the Belvedere Hotel, which was a hotel that was right next to Stanbury and Associates, and that was the plan for him, was to film on the roof of that
It's
building.
literally across the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no written or evidence that he actually said that. That's just what they're like, yeah, they talked about filming on the top, but there was no like scheduled shoot or anything like that.
No, like that's just what we've heard from when they interviewed the employees.
Yeah.
Like yeah. So let's take it to May 17th. So on May 17th, the next day, Allison awakes and phones Claudia right away. You know what I mean? Just to be like, hey, listen, I haven't heard from Ray all night. You know, has he come home? You know, if he's home, can you fucking wake him up so he can talk to me? Turns out Ray still hasn't returned home yet.
Still gone.
Allison's like, Kate, something's fucking weird. This is completely out of character for him. Calls Ray's brother, calls the family and says, listen, you know, have any of you guys talked to Ray? I haven't heard from him and I'm really concerned. After talking to Angel, his brother, this guy who lives in Orlando hops on a fucking plane and flies there straight away.
This is how out of character it is for Ray
To be missing, yeah.
Like this, to be honest, if Lady Zell called me tomorrow and was like, hey, Ryan hasn't come home tonight, I'd be like, I don't know, fucking hopefully he comes home tomorrow.
Well, but
This
see,
guy was
I thought about that too.
This guy was so concerned that he's just like, this is so fucked up and is so unlike my brother that I've got to get on a plane. That's how worried I am.
Honestly, though, like I put some thought into that. And I also thought that, you know, if somebody called me and said, hey, you know what, I haven't talked to Dom in a night, or you think about it, somebody hasn't talked to Scotty in a night, I'd be like, well, it's kind of fucking weird, but you know, whatever, he's an adult and he can handle himself. I'm in fucking Orlando. I don't know how far away. So it kind of leads me to think that maybe his brother knew that there might be something going on with this guy. Maybe he knew something in his past. You know what I mean? That, oh, you know what? When Ray goes missing, that means there's fucking something's wrong.
I will also say this. There's a concept of family among like, you know, Puerto Ricans and other cultures that I don't understand.
Uh-oh.
Well, just me and my family are not close at all.
Do you
We have
spend
no-
a lot of time with Puerto Ricans?
No, but like when I have friends, I have friends like Puerto Rican friends and stuff who it's like they're friends.
Uh-oh.
You know what I mean? Like
that's funny.
the family units are super close.
Why? Let's refer to Dan. We have a fellow Latino on our podcast. Dan, if you did not talk to a family member for a night, would you get upset and fly? I don't know how far away Baltimore is from Orlando, but I'm assuming it's far away.
No, I work on movie police things where it's like if they're missing, they got to be missing for
48?
more than 24 hours.
Right.
All I'm saying is that
They had
in
a strong family. Wasn't their didn't he come from like a military family where they moved around a lot, so they didn't have a lot of lifelong friends? So
his dad was in the Air Force or something.
yeah. So
right?
that's in that case, then like you'd be closer with your family than a normal family because you're
Good
traveling
friends.
around. You don't get a chance to make lifelong friends. You're always making short-term friends wherever you go.
Listen, it's from 6 p.m. till 5 a.m. the next day. How the fuck far is Orlando? How far away is Orlando
he
from
was
Baltimore?
known to go out and party with Porter.
Exactly.
Right? He was known to go out in Baltimore. Porter was pretty well off. He liked the finer things.
Your
and he would
wife's
take
out of
Ray,
town,
right?
Your wife's out of town. You're
Yeah.
probably going to take advantage of that. Go with the boys. It's just a little bit bizarre to me, man. Like it's weird that such a giant red flag was being fucking waved. And everybody's like, holy fuck.
It's
he's been
885
gone.
miles driving.
I guess I'd have to be on the other end of that phone call to hear how worried Allison, because maybe that could convince me if the person who called me sounded that concerned. But it does feel, I agree with you. It feels like maybe Angel was feeling that there's more stuff going on than they're letting on.
Maybe she did. Okay, to play contrarian to that, maybe she did say he's been acting fucking super weird lately. These are the things he's been doing. None of that makes sense.
Yeah, he's
what I
already
mean?
had
So
the
maybe,
change of character. It's been going on for a while. We had the two alarms. So there's already a bunch of stuff going on. Now he doesn't show up the next night after the second alarm. So yeah, calls his brother and be like,
okay, no, that's a very good fair statement, Sal, because that's a completely different phone call. If I got a call from Lady Sal and she's like, hey, listen, a bunch of weird shit's been happening. Our alarm's gone off 2 nights in a row. Zell's been acting fucking really freaked out. Now he's not home and he's not calling me. I'm seriously concerned.
yeah.
Can you fly and help me look for him?
Because we'd have to know like what's the relationship? What's the relationship like? If he goes out with Porter, does he go like, yeah, I'm going out with Porter? Does he tell her every time, or has he like just partied with him all night before? If it's never happened before, and all this stuff has gone on, the alarms, the weird behavior, and then she calls his brother, and he's like, and she's probably like, she wouldn't be her normal self now. She'd be freaking out probably. I would imagine at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
You know what I mean? I don't know. It seems like the whole family right away like descended upon Baltimore and we're like, we got to fucking figure this shit out.
she calls everyone.
So-
they all come. By the next day, everyone's there in the living room.
Within the next 2 days, they have a fucking complete command center set up, calling every single hospital, all people that know Ray, looking into the fact that, he's disappeared and where he might be. I guess Claudia, dealing with drama of her own, kind of left, went home, and the family took over, set up command, and tried starting to look for him. Let's fast forward to May 22nd. Ray's car was found in the mid-afternoon in a paid parking lot right beside the Belvedere Hotel.
Oh.
And they had been looking they've been
Searching.
canvassing neighborhoods, walking the streets, asking people, going to his known whereabouts, calling friends. They've been doing everything at this point already. Hospitals, they're actively searching for this guy.
Yeah.
And then the weird thing too, the fact that they found his vehicle, there was no recording equipment at all, and that's right near the area that he would potentially be filming this, whatever he was filming, on the roof of the Belvedere. There was no signs that it might have been stolen. There was no signs of a struggle, anything like that. His car was just fucking neatly parked there, looked completely normal.
Found with a parking ticket.
Exactly. And then on May 24th, 2 days later, 2 fellow employees that Ray knew went out for lunch and ran into one of Ray's close friends that he worked with. And they started bullshitting and they're like, we're out for lunch. What are you up to? Do you want to join us? He's like, you know what? I'm actually kind of just canvassing the area to see if maybe there's any traces of where Ray is, or, any inclination of what might have happened, since we found his car here. So all 3 of them kind of teamed up and started checking this parking garage where the people who stayed at the Belvedere would park. They worked their way to the top of this parking garage. And when they got up top, one of them kind of looked at the roof below and they noticed something kind of weird. They noticed just a random flip-flop sitting there. And like, oh, that's kind of weird. And they kept looking and, lo and behold, there was another flip-flop. And then a pair of glasses and a phone.
And this isn't when we say that they're seeing these things, this isn't they're walking and finding these things. They're looking 20 feet down onto a lower roof and they're going, hey, there's a flip-flop down there. Hey, there's another flip-flop. Hey, there's some keys, all kind of not too strewn from each other.
And then they notice a hole in the roof. And that's when they're like, okay, this is kind of fucking weird. So I guess the detectives, the police had been through the office, talked to everybody that knows Ray. These people are actually somewhat close with Ray. So I'm assuming the detective must have left a card with them. So immediately they hop on the phone and get a hold of the leading detective on the case and say, hey, listen, this is what we found. There's a hole. We found some belongings. We don't know if it belongs to Ray, but you should probably get here.
Because they can't actually access this. This was actually a weird, very strange aspect for me, because if I was standing on a parking garage and I saw on the adjacent building that's a little bit below that there was a hole and some stuff on the roof, I would assume that the building knew about this fucking hole.
Yeah, exactly.
Right away. I wouldn't be like, I better call the police about this hole because I'm missing a friend and I want to, this hole looks weird.
Well, for me, the hole for me is not the weird part. It's the fucking personal belongings
Yeah, but they
around
don't.
the hole.
You don't know who
Not yet.
these belong to.
No, you don't know, but that's why the fuck would there be a random pair of flip flops, glasses, and a fucking phone sitting
Well,
there? Like if it was one flip flop, I'd be like, oh, maybe somebody was sitting on the edge and their flip flop fell off. But the fact that there's 2 flip flops, a fucking phone, and a pair of glasses.
Well, you're at a hotel. The hotel's got windows. I mean, disputes happen in hotels. You could easily have made the connection of like, oh, some girl has chucked her husband's phone and stuff out the window. Like, fuck you.
It's a fucking hotel. So you think like, honestly, I've thought about this at one aspect of it. If I were on that parking garage and I looked down and I saw this stuff and I saw the hole, I would immediately be like, oh, well, that's kind of weird. But my brain would go, obviously the hotel knows about a hole in the fucking roof. That's what my brain would jump to.
But you also got to think too that the fact that like these people are out there for a purpose. They're not walking around randomly coming upon this. They're looking for this guy, right? So they want to think it has something to do with Ray, right?
Yeah.
So they see all this stuff. Do they contact the police first, or they contact the hotel management?
From everything I've read, it says that they contacted the police. Now that could be completely wrong because, we're finding our fucking information from, not the best sources, but
yeah.
So from what I understand is they contacted the police, and the police show up and they find out that this area with this hole in is actually like an annex area of the Belvedere Hotel, which I guess used to be a pool. Does that sound right to you guys?
It was like kind of like a pool, or maybe like a racket club kind of thing, like a decrepit fitness place, maybe with like a banquet room in it, is what it seemed like, but not used anymore. So no one really goes in there ever.
The pool was filled in and turned into 2 offices.
Okay, there you go. So it's an area that's not being used on a daily basis, right? So that could be potentially why there was a hole in this roof nobody noticed. You'd like to think that somebody would have heard something come fucking flying through a roof, whatever it was. You'd think it would be loud, but either way, no one had reported this mysterious hole. So the police go and investigate it. And unfortunately, what they found in that abandoned annex area was Ray's body, found lying prone, wedged up against the wall, in that unused area of the Belvedere. Now, Ray's body was already in advanced stages of decomposition. Well, you know what? Actually, he was kind of he was just about turning the corner to the advanced stages of decomposition, because this was May 24th, and he was last seen
16th.
When? On the 16th?
Yeah.
So what is that, like 6 days?
8 days.
Sorry, 8 days. So after 8 days, after 8 days, a body that's decomposing, you would notice stuff like they'd be bloating. The organs would be decomposed. You'd have lots of maggots. The body would kind of be turning colors. They'd probably be like a green and a dark black at this point in time. So
I can only imagine.
You know what I mean? Like
the guy in Unsolved Mysteries, when they interviewed him, he's like, when they opened the door, the smell. He's like, he can never forget it, and anytime he has to go in there, he can it's like embedded in his mind.
Like, I'll be honest, I've done a similar situation to this many a time, and the last body I can remember that had been about between I think it was a week or within a week, a couple days, either give or take, and like we went up on this apartment building, got up to the top floor, and the elevator doors opened, and there was fucking 12 rooms on this top floor. And as soon as the elevators opened, you could smell it.
Oh.
There was maggots in the hallway.
Right.
You know what I mean? Leading up into this room. Like you could fucking, and then when you open the door, like that smell goes right into the pit of your stomach and just stays there. Like I smelt it for weeks.
Ooh.
It's just a smell you don't forget, man. It's the most rancid, disgusting, nauseating smell that I just can't fucking even put it into words, to be honest with you.
Okay, so now we found the body. Let's take a quick beer break, and then we'll go through what else we find out at the hotel, and then get into some theories. We'll be right back.
The comfort of your favorite seat is now your comfy car selling command center, thanks to Carvana.
It doesn't get any better than this.
Your favorite seat's the best spot in the house. Make it even better by entering your license plate or VIN and getting a real offer in minutes.
There really is no place like home.
And speaking of home, Carvana will pick up your car from yours after you finalize your offer. Visit Carvana.com or download the app and sell your car from your comfy place.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today.
We're back.
So as we were saying, he's already in this he's in the, the first week of decomposition, which is kind of starting to begin on the advanced stages. So we got the bloating, the maggots, just not a good scene. Everybody that found this body that, hasn't seen a dead body before is obviously fucking scarred. Not a pretty smell, not great. Along with that, the medical examiner comes in and they notice that Ray has this wide variety of injuries ranging from rib fractures, punctured lungs, both, multiple skull fractures. And then the one that stands out the most is he's got these bilateral compound tib-fib fractures.
Explain.
So he's both his left and his right leg, right at the, like imagine your shin bone.
Yep.
And the bone behind your shin bone, both those severed. And now a compound fracture means the bone is protruding through the skin.
So he really crunched those legs.
Yeah, but the weird thing is it's not necessarily indicative of a fall. Like you don't really see those injuries. Like I've done quite a few jumpers and you don't necessarily see that. Like in order for a jumper to have those type of injuries, they'd most likely have to do some sort of like fucking pencil dive and land straight on their legs, which, you know what I mean? Speaking from experience, I've done probably roughly between 8 and 10 jumpers. And I've never been to a patient that's jumped and fucking pencil dive straight down. You know what I mean? They always land prone or supine, which mean like face down or face up.
Like that's just how people fall.
That's usually, you know what I mean? And like, I've had the unfortunate, luck of like watching someone fall like that too. And you know what I mean? Like watching that person, it's waving arms, waving legs, prone all the way down to the ground.
Yeah, here's a detailed rundown of the injuries that were found in Rivera's body. 2 cuts to the forehead, 1 which is 4 inches long, fractures to the nose and jaw, 4 ejected teeth, fractures in the cheekbone, multiple fractures in the skull from the top of the spine to the eye sockets, resulting in a brain hemorrhage, torn neck muscles, leading to further hemorrhage, cuts and bruises on the chest, 2 fractures to the collarbone, 24 broken ribs, which punctured the heart and lungs and damaged the liver. Broken pelvis, cuts and tears to the right groin and testicle, many cuts and bruises on the torso, in addition to the 2 enormous lacerations on either side. One 9 by 7 inches long and the other 9 by 4. Torn skin on the front and back of the arms, legs cut so badly that the muscles and tendons could be seen, and the right leg is broken in 2 places with bone protruding through the skin.
Jesus.
The weird thing for me is these large lacerations that are described. And I think we'll get back to that a bit, but that doesn't really line up either. But anyways, so we have this multitude of injuries, which a lot of those are normal to find in a fall from a large distance. So we know that we see that there's this hole in the roof. We have Ray's glasses, phone, and flip-flops. Another weird thing about this, this hole is only 40 inches wide. You know what I mean? Ray's a big man. Ray definitely could fall through that 40-inch hole, but you would think it would be bigger. Also,
you have to be tucked.
The other weird things is that his glasses, his phone, and his flip-flops, well, flip-flops really aren't that important because they wouldn't really be damaged, but the phone is, other than a few scratches, is in complete working order.
And they were found on top of the garage. They weren't found inside with him.
And this isn't, I just want to add, it's even weirder because this isn't a Nokia phone. This isn't one of those old Nokia, like fucking brick phones that are indestructible. This is like I can't remember, it's like a Sony or Sonya or something.
What is it? It's 2005, right? We're getting a little bit more advanced in our phones.
Yeah.
Well, that was like a leading theory was like, well, it's probably one of those Nokia phones. That's why it didn't break. No, it's like a shittier. It's like a Sonya or some. It's not a Nokia phone, but his eyeglasses.
Listen, it's not a Motorola Razr. It's not a Motorola Razr. Those things were fucking made of glass.
That was a good phone. That was a good phone. Love that phone.
They look cool.
Just don't drop it. So, the other weird thing too is the fact that so the Belvedere Hotel is no longer a hotel. It's been converted into apartments. There's a concierge in front. You know what I mean? Security cameras everywhere. And none of the staff reported seeing Ray that day whatsoever. No one came forward saying, oh yeah, I saw him, walk through the building.
You kind of glassing over so the leading theory for this is that Ray went into the Belvedere Hotel, got to the roof, and leapt to his death by suicide.
Well, I wasn't getting to that just quite yet.
Well, you're saying, but that he's not captured on any of these cameras. But that's the theory.
Well, I didn't even get to the cameras yet either, but which is oddly enough that you brought it up is the fact that the cameras on the roof were disconnected.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to put it together right now as there's this hole, a man-sized pencil hole through a metal roof, it was a sheet metal roof with tar, what's that fucking type of roofing? Torch-on roofing, and with a tin roof underneath, and so he must have fallen to bust through that like he did from an incredible height, either from the very top of the building, or maybe on a ledge from a higher up, a higher window.
Exactly.
That's what the theory is.
What we know right away is the fact that parking garage that the staff members were standing on that saw them, that was only 20 feet tall. Now, the fact that he had those injuries from a 20-foot fall, not a fucking chance.
Okay, listen.
You'd live from a 20-foot.
Let's put that to bed right now. There's no fucking way he leapt from that parking garage in a suicide attempt, busted through that roof, and got all those injuries. Andrew has witnessed me fall from 20 feet
100%.
With 0 injuries.
Guy walked away.
I walked away. I mean, I was a little fucking hurt and I was trying to milk it so I got the day off, but I was fine.
Mind you, back in the day, this was like peak Fat Braden. So he did look somewhat like the Michelin Man. Yeah. And when he did hit the ground, he did bounce. He hit the ground and he bounced right back up to his feet.
Yeah.
It was pretty remarkable.
On the same point, though, I also watched Braden fall 3 feet off a skateboard and had a broken back for years. So
this is true.
He's drunk.
There's no in between.
He jumped on his skateboard. He fell on his side. Oh, my back. And for years, I had to listen to him complain about his back from this one fall. So
it's true.
You don't know. You don't know what Braden you're going to get when he hits the ground.
So not only were the security cameras on the roof disconnected, but all the security cameras in the Belvedere on May 16th had somewhat of a malfunction, and there was time periods missing.
Well, and I'll say this, people said that there was some cameras working, but they only recorded up to 7 days. And people are like, well, why wouldn't they record longer? And it's like, listen, I used to work for fucking government buildings where shit went down and they only had they kept 3 days of recordings. That's just that's whoever came and set up the security system set it, and no one ever fucking changed it. So it's like, when they're like, why would the cameras that recorded 7 days be like that? It's like, honestly, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
Well, we're 2005. Was it 2005?
It's probably a lot of hard drive space.
Are we 05 or are we 06? Either way.
06.
Hard drives were much more expensive per gigabyte back then. So 7 days is probably that's a lot of cameras, a lot of footage, a lot of hard drive. You can't save it forever. I mean, you should, but a lot of people probably do not.
No, that's fair.
But yes, so the theory is he had jumped through this hole. He had fallen through this hole, let's say, must have been feet first. Must have been, because he wouldn't have fit.
Well, that's the only thing that would
he wouldn't have fit sideways.
Or head first.
But
that's
head first.
Swanton dive.
Well, I think we would have seen more head damage.
Yeah, I mean, all the
100%.
All the cuts and lacerations, though, from the metal roof as he punctured through, is explained probably by the metal on the roof after you break through the sharp edges.
There was metal in the roof, and there also was there was evidence that he hit roof girders going through. Like there were dented girders beneath that roof that they saw that he.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Like he did a little pinball, through the last little bit.
Yeah. So if you say 20 feet, but then you have to add another because he fell through the roof, hit the roof, hit the girders, went through that, an additional like 7 or 8 feet. And
here's the thing. It's from all accounts, the hole from the inside looking out, it looked like a way more damage because as he came through that tiny hole, he blew apart I imagine it's like that fucking, that office space roofs and like the metal tracks and shit. He just blew all that apart.
Well, it's the same thing. Like you see an object that like gets punctured like a bullet or something. Like you see the bullet, like you see the entry is not that small, but the exit is what you're looking at. So
exit wound is 2 times, like 2 to 3 times the size.
All the force comes exploding out the bottom or the exit.
Yeah.
So we have this hole in the wall, and also Ray's toxicology report came back absolutely clean. There was no drugs, legal or illegal, found in his system. They did find a small amount of alcohol, but that's normal when in the stage of decomposition that he was in.
Is he fermenting from the inside?
Well, the MEs said it could have been from decomposition, but they also said it could have been remaining alcohol from if he had imbibed some during his time. It could have been either or. There's no conclusion.
So it could have been either or, but the medical examiner determined that he died from multiple and severe injuries consistent with a fall from a height.
Right.
But they made no ruling as far as homicide, suicide, or accident. They actually declared it to be undetermined because the circumstances surrounding the incident were still so unclear. But the Baltimore PD were ruling on the side of suicide.
Now we have to look. The one thing that why this case is so interesting is the placement of where the hole in the roof is to where you could have jumped from makes it.
Well, let's start. Yeah, like Zell, let's start picking apart the official narrative. And the official narrative from the police was this was a suicide. This was a man who leapt off the building to his death through this hole. Case closed.
Yeah. So in order, like you would have to get through that roof, you had to come from a high point. So the roof or like high balcony. So there's. Here, I have the pictures. Let's go through the pictures first, and then we can decide what we want to talk about next. So, okay, if you're watching the live stream on Patreon, we salute you. If not, go check it out. But we'll describe what's going on here. So, we're at the Belvedere Hotel. I'm not sure what way we're facing, but in front there's the hole in the middle, the hotel on the right, and the parking garage is on the left.
Yeah.
And now from the distance from the parking garage.
Too far
from the top to where the hole is you would have to be
too far of a drop.
You have to be an Olympic long jumper just to make it, and you wouldn't have enough force to puncture right through and explode to the roof because you'd be going horizontal more horizontal than you hit
vertical.
Dan wants to say something.
Forensic physicists said no.
Said no what?
They said either from jumping for the two prevailing theories being either he jumped from the roof. Or if he jumped from the parking garage, if he got a decent running start, that's the crux of the thing is like, if he would have got a decent running start from either position, he could have nailed that.
So the Washington Examiner actually, like they got engineers out to do a study on this. And it turns out that they estimated, so it was roughly 43 feet that he would have had to travel. And he would have had to get up to about 11 miles per hour to make that leap.
Isn't that from the top though? Isn't that from the top of the building?
I believe that's from the parking garage. I could be wrong though.
Okay, because I thought that from the top of the building to the hole is about 45 feet horizontal and about 13 stories down.
You're probably right then. Because from what I understood is that he would have to get up to a range of maybe like 13 miles per hour to make that leap, to create that hole, which is doable for an athletic person such as Rey Rivera.
That's the average running speed. Like the top speed of like an adult male is 13 miles per hour. So,
and he was an athletic guy, not to mention 6'5".
That's what I'm saying though, is from the parking garage is way, way lower. I think it's only 3 stories above where this hole was, where the top of the building is 13 stories above.
So he had to get a good fucking speed to make that.
Here's the thing. Here, before we even go, like, Zell, you've worked construction. I've worked construction. We kind of know how these things are built. We understand. Do you believe for a second that kind of hole could be made from that parking garage as a construction worker? Do you think there's a chance of that?
I'd have to really look at like the design of that roof, but you would need a lot of momentum to puncture through it. So if the parking garage, if you're only dropping 20 feet, if you're dropping 20 feet down and 20 feet over, it doesn't seem like enough. But if you're jumping, let's not say jumping, let's say if you're falling from that top of the building at like 13 stories above, by the time you get the momentum, that makes more sense to me that you could puncture through from the very top of the building than from only a few stories above and 20 feet out
100%,
from the parking garage.
I agree with that too. And like, it's, you know what I mean? Like there was a lot of questions being like, how could somebody gather that speed in flip flops? Like that doesn't make sense. I know me and Braden were talking about that. Which also led me to believe, like I had a thought, because, you know, as somebody who wears fucking flip flops until the snow falls, right? Like I'll push the fucking limits.
This is true. This is true. Andrew's in flip flops 24/7.
I've seen people run really fast in flip flops.
But not only that though, like if I have to run really fucking fast, you know what I do is I take my fucking flip flops off and I put them on my hands and I run barefoot, which would make sense why the fucking flip flops are where they were.
You know what? That's Andrew. I really like that, because before in my head, I thought this guy was running in flip flops, which shouldn't make sense, because anytime I run in flip flops, I get a natural like foot grip on the flip flops. And if I'm diving in a pencil dive from that roof, I just don't see them coming off my feet if I'm in a pencil dive. But now, if you put them on my hands and I'm falling like this, the wind just pulls them right off my fucking hands and then they fall on top of the roof. I like that. I didn't even think of that.
No, I just, because like as somebody who wears flip flops, that's what made sense to me. If I needed to get as much speed to clear that fucking distance. And like, again, also, there's a lot of reports of the fact that Rey Rivera was terrified of heights, like didn't want to climb a ladder to put up fucking Christmas lights, like shit in his pants. And like, throwback to our Mexico vacation where we wanted to fucking jump off. What the fuck were those things called again? Cenotes. So we were jumping into cenotes. I fucking hate heights. I'm not a big fan. The only fucking way I jumped in that cenote was not by looking off the fucking edge and jumping in, was taking a fucking 100-yard fucking sprint and running the fuck off that thing.
It's true.
You know what I mean? Like that's the only way I could get off. I almost fucking hit that fucking rope they had because I made it so far.
Okay, let's continue with where the hotel and positions are jumping here. So another picture here of the hotel. You can see the parking garage in the front and the hotel in the back and where the hole is. And you can see how high the actual top of the roof is here. So what they're saying, I think here let's move.
He would have to clear 40 feet from that roof.
What if he
45 feet?
What if he jumped from that ledge? You know what I mean? Not the top of the fucking Belvedere, but that little ledge. Like, Zell, could you bring that fucking picture back up?
Yeah, I'm going to get to that one. I'm going to get to that one right after this one. So this is the one where it seems to be the most plausible. He'd sprint, jump off the edge, soar through the air, pencil dive, hit the roof, and the rest we now know. But yes, if you go, so there's a couple other spots if you're looking at the hotel, there's a ledge, looks to be about like the entire ridge line, so it would be the penthouse of this place. There's a ledge like that goes all the way around the building.
Which looks doable. Except you can only get to this ledge through a residence. Because these are all condos now, right? You can only get there. You have to go through someone's property or someone has to let you in and go through there. There's no, as far as the investigation go, no hallway entrance. Like there's no window you can get out from the hallway to the ledge.
I'd imagine too, like those edges, like this building was built in 1903, Dan?
Yeah.
But here's the other.
So you know what I mean? You'd have to be somewhat you'd have to be pretty agile to be able to like fucking Spider-Man your ass through a window onto that little ledge and make it all the way over
I disagree. I think the jump is possible from the 11th floor ledge. Forget coming out of a window. It's determined that you can get to the roof. If you can get to the roof, you can slide down
that little
fucking roof.
That's not a little roof, though. It's not a little
You don't
roof.
think so?
Look at the size
I'm
of
saying
that.
that makes a little more sense.
See, look at the peak of the roof. Look at a window. Look at one story. That roof is 3 stories above that ledge. That's a fucking ballsy. So yeah, you probably could.
Yeah, but if you could probably cascade down to the top of
It's
the
so
window
steep.
and then climb your way down.
Look how steep it is, though, Braden. Look on the left of that picture. Look how
It is pretty steep.
Spider brain.
dude. It's like
Yeah.
85 degrees. It's almost vertical.
yeah.
But yes, you could. I guess you could get.
It's still having said this, okay, we're thinking that the jump doesn't make sense from the parking garage. It doesn't make sense from the absolute roof. The other thing, we've kind of determined the flip-flop things. But the fact is that, like, if I lob your phone off of either one of those ledges we're talking about, or your fucking glasses you're wearing, Dan, Andrew, they're broken.
Yeah, I can't argue with you there. I can't. And
Well, they said they were mostly scratched. They didn't say that they were broken. If they fell from the parking garage, it wouldn't necessarily be broken.
we're basically talking about the fact that this hole and these jumps and none of this makes fucking sense and seems super bizarre. And if it happened, it just, I don't know, just seems super fucking weird.
Okay, so right away with this one, you know, the Baltimore police come and they say to Alice and the family, like, hey, listen, we're terribly sorry. Ray committed suicide. And basically everyone is like, nah, that doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense. Like, he jumped from the top. He cleared 45 feet in a running jump, because the official police report is that he ran from the top of the Belvedere Hotel that we talked, leapt, made 45 feet, pencil dive through the roof, and died.
Suicide.
And
That's the only way it happened. That's the only way it plausibly happened.
And
according to 3 dummies on a podcast, not including Dan.
yeah, but the family, Allison and everyone else, the Angel, everyone goes, this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense because he wasn't suicidal. He was happy by all accounts. And it just doesn't make sense that someone could make that jump.
So you kind of got onto a little something here, and I don't want to touch too much on it now, but it is
touch it, Andrew.
Really
touch
common. I'm going to touch it.
Touch it.
It's really common for families of a potential suicide victim to be in certain stages of denial and to make excuses and say, there's no chance. He was happy. That this doesn't make sense. You know, that is an extremely common theme.
Yes. And we know that it is possible to make this jump, right? It's humanly possible to make the 45 feet at a full sprint adult male. You can do it. But the thing is, getting to the roof is not accessible by the public. You'd have to know how to get there, or have a key, or have someone show you up to the roof. As far as I could tell, it's not like
your cell phone would be broken.
You would think, like, in
your
this situation, like,
would be broken.
Well, yeah, it's weird. It's fucking weird. Could it have happened? Definitely
could have happened.
But it's like, what is the percentage of this being able to happen as it did? You know what I mean? Like, it just seems so rare. But the craziest part about this isn't the weirdest part of this fucking case.
Let's break it open.
This isn't the weirdest part. Shit gets even fucking weirder when Angel, his brother, and Allison decide to rip through the house to see if okay, you know what? Maybe there's some clues. Maybe there's a suicide note. Maybe there's something that would give us, shed a little light on the situation. Yeah. And they discover a bizarre, impossibly cryptic note that's been taped on the back of Ray's computer in his office.
And the other weird thing is, they know this note was made the day he disappeared, because there was the clippings from where Ray had cut it out in the trash.
You know what? I don't know about that for sure. I think Allison assumes that that's the case.
Okay, it could be a couple days earlier. It could be a couple days earlier.
Does she monitor the shit that goes into the garbage every day? Like, all right. That's, to me, every time I read that, I'm like, that's kind of weird.
All right, let's make a stretch. Garbage day is once a week. Dan, is that pretty common for the States as well? Garbage day is once a week?
Yep.
Okay, so let's say that those clippings that match that note are no more than a week old.
Well, do they recycle? Maybe recycling happens every 2 weeks.
Maybe he's one of those people that don't change their garbage for months at a time. But
so
either
anyways,
way,
we have this bizarre, note that's been taped to the back of the computer. It's cut in a really weird way. It doesn't make sense. It's folded. And Allison supposed that it was placed there the day he disappeared. The note also was found alongside a blank check from his video production company.
weird.
Super weird. Now, that's not even the weirdest part. This fucking note is one of the most bizarre things I've ever fucking read in my entire life.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It makes zero sense. There are a few things we can pull from it, though. You know what I mean? Like the first little bit of the note, starts off, brothers and sisters, right now around the world, volcanoes are erupting. What an awesome sight.
What?
Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck? And I guess Allison right away, typed that into Google to be like, what the fuck does this mean? And it comes back as a Masonic phrase that's commonly fucking said, right? Like super bizarre. We know that he's getting masonry for dummies. He's raiding the builders. He's into masonry. You know what I mean? So he's going down this rabbit hole. So along with the Masonic fucking phrases and shit that are all over this note, you guys, the only way, you guys got to look this up. You got to read it. We're not going to do it justice. Yeah. It's so fucking long and so bizarre that we're not even, we can't even begin to get into.
He basically lists all of his friends and acquaintances, has little notes beside them. He does a list of movies.
Stuff like Eyes Wide Shut, National Treasure, Da Vinci Code,
Invisalign, robots. Just
I will
all
say the
sorts of
same
shit.
month that May when he died, the Da Vinci Code movie came out.
Yeah, but that's just one of the films that's on this list. How many films are listed in that note?
Yeah, he also...
I know, but a lot of those films have that same kind of Dan Brown-esque.
They have a lot to do with secret societies.
National Treasure, right? A Nick Cage classic. The Family Man, Demon Days, November Rain.
Eyes Wide Shut, which is a fucking
Star Wars 1 to
movie.
3.
Yeah, he said Star Wars and Lord of the Rings though also, so I don't know. It's fine.
Fight Club 7, the game specifically. That one popped up for me because there's we can get into that right now, but people draw a lot of parallels to that he lists that movie. And if anyone knows The Game, great Michael Douglas film, it's a fucking phenomenal watch.
Is it?
At the end of the game, spoiler alert, at the end, this guy is so frustrated with
the game.
With the game.
Yeah.
He jumps from a roof to escape. And it turns out to be all part of the game. But
it's very similar to the situation that Ray's in. You know what I mean? This guy starts at a brand new company, a financial company. You know what I mean? He had a very similar upbringing that Ray had. You know what I mean? And the fact that the guy at the end of the movie makes a leap supposedly to his death. You know what I mean? It's fucking eerie.
So one of the theories is he's maybe gone a little mentally ill and he's playing out this movie. Is that
potentially? Because at the end of that movie, Michael Douglas jumps to his death.
This movie is on the list of movies that he has a bunch of other list of movies as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
so
he also mentions, but listen, he also mentions the fact he's like, we've played the game. I've played the game well. Fucking Porter Stansfield, won the game. He mentions the game frequently throughout this letter. It's not just and the game with amongst a bunch of different movies.
He kind of quotes weird lines from the movie throughout the note, which draws people attention, which is why they think that maybe his death is some sort of play on the movie, The Game. But that would lead into mental illness.
We do need to note the fact that Michael Douglas's character does leap to his death, but ends up landing on a fucking cushion and lives.
Because
it's part of the game.
Yeah, because
it's part of the game.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know that. Michael Douglas leaps expecting to die and doesn't. You'd have to watch the movie to see. So if someone was having a mental illness and they were obsessed with that kind of movie and they did that kind of leap, again, the leap doesn't make sense with the phone, the glasses to me.
He also, the weird thing too is the one where he asks the council, because this is addressed to the council, that a certain amount of friends.
Ooh.
What's wrong?
Unbelievable. My recording stopped.
When?
Okay.
I have no idea.
Skype audio for Brayden.
Okay. Should I keep talking or do we stop and let you figure that out?
What does it say on the time code?
86. I just punched back in.
That's,
so
that's
whatever.
2 minutes ago, so I'll make it work.
All right. I just stopped it.
The other weird thing for me is the fact that he asks to make a certain, like, people that he lists 5 years younger.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super weird. Like, to me, that sounds like some type of code. Some type of, like, you know what I mean? Cryptic fucking weird shit. Like, why would you pick 5 years? It's just random. It's weird. But anyway, so go ahead, Dan.
Said, why not?
Well, why would you ask to be a little bit younger? Like 5 years? That's it?
It's a nice prime number.
It is strange. A stranger aspect that I'd like to get into is that his best friend, Porter Stansfield, when he disappears and people don't know where he is, he offers $1,000 reward out of company money. Then he ups it to 5,000, I believe.
Yep.
Then they find him. They find Ray, and almost immediately, Porter Stansfield and the Stansfield Research Group, whatever the company was named at the time, basically gives a memo to all staff that they are not to participate, talk to, or give any information to any law enforcement or legal authority, and they lawyer up.
Have we been saying, hold on, stop. Sorry to interrupt, but have we been saying Stansfield? Because it's Stansbury.
Stansbury. I think I just said Stansfield.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
Stansbury. Stansbury. And then he basically lawyers up and basically gag orders everyone in the company.
Strange.
Now, very, very strange that, like, your best friend, you're offering a reward, and when they find him and they have more questions, because they determined that the call that Ray received that night at his house, where he goes, "Oh shit," and he rushes out, that call is from his work. They don't know where in Stansbury Research it came from, because it came through a switchboard, but they know it came from the work. And that's what, so obviously that call came through. He said, "Oh shit," and left.
So just to clarify, that switchboard that they're talking about is the switchboard for Stansbury and a number of other subsidiaries. And one of the subsidiaries that Ray was working with, it's not necessarily the Stansbury and Associates, because all those people were away that week. Like that whole
that
team
being said,
that were gone.
Don't you think it's a little peculiar that he phoned that number and his best friend works there?
No, when he called him about that, when you said, yeah, hey, I figured it all out. Like, Stansbury made a statement about that.
Yeah, he does. He says, he's like, it didn't make sense to me. It was weird.
I didn't know what he was talking. He says, and like both in a statement and I think
I'm just seeing this
articles, and they say he had no idea what he was talking about.
And people are going to say this. Recently, the Stansbury Group has come out and said, like, hey, the Unexplained Mysteries show, they lied. This is not true. We didn't do any of that. But they had actually filed a cease and desist order on the Unexplained Mysteries before it came out to try to stop the production. But because Unexplained Mysteries had already lawyered up and made sure that everything they were saying was true, they didn't have a leg to stand on. So the episode aired as is with all that information, including the one that the Stansbury Group ordered a gag order to all the employees. So they can come out now and say whatever the fuck they want. But like, at the time, it was found to be factually true that they ordered a gag order on employees. And I couldn't imagine.
They didn't put a gag order. That is what the detective reported. And that's what he told Allison. But Stansberry Associates, well, whatever, you can believe them or him. But if you were running a multi-million-dollar, close to $1 billion company, would you want your employees like spouting off like unbased rumors?
If my best friend died.
When I got into like the whole background of Stansberry and Associates, like they are a shady company because they're one of those companies that they don't produce anything. Like they don't necessarily sell anything. They don't make anything.
They're selling stock predictions pretty much.
They sell stock predictions, and there's a lot of people who have gone up, they're probably in constant litigation with a lot of people. They've been under investigation by the SEC
has been up their fucking ass multiple times.
Which as they should be, because a couple of shady things have gone down in their past before Ray had even joined the company. But that being said,
well, that's why actually we understand that Ray was brought into was the reason why Ray was brought in was to try and clean up their fucking reputation a bit through that newsletter.
I think they changed their name to do that because it used to be like the SEC was investigating. Was it Pirate Investment Group that was run by them? Mm-hmm. And then they changed their name to Stansberry. So that I don't think they necessarily needed Ray.
The SEC found the original company and Porter Stansberry like guilty and charged them $1.5 million, and they tried to appeal it, and the appeal was rejected. So they were found guilty of like defrauding people and giving false statements.
What the case was addressing was a issue where it was either Stansberry or one of the major supervisors or the kind of heads of the group circulated this newsletter where they said, I know the next big company that is going to go through the roof, stock wise, investment wise. If you want the name of that company, I've got the information, and for $5,000, you can get that information.
Yeah,
and then
which is
they gave
illegal.
out that information. Yeah, and it's illegal. But they gave out that information. That stock didn't do well, and then people wanted their money back. And then that was what that whole lawsuit is about. And I think it actually still is in litigation to this day.
So either way, they, there are some claims that there was a potential gag order. For what I read, that the police actually stated that the fact that basically this guy was 5 lawyers deep. And this is the murder capital of fucking the United States of America. And they're stretched completely thin.
The murder capital, that's based on other stuff. That's not like corporate, like that's not, I don't think that's a mischaracterization.
Yeah, but the police could force him through a subpoena, but Baltimore police were already fucking completely stretched thin. So they decided not to. That's what I read.
Either way, this is this guy, one of his best friends. And who's
not working with police,
and he's not cooperating with police. Let's leave it with that.
He did do an interview in 2006. He did interview with the police,
but no one else from that company interviewed with police.
Why would they interview him when none of them had?
They fucking because
connections with him.
Yeah, no, because people that were employed under him found the fucking body. They're the ones that found the fucking hole in the ground and the flip flops and the glasses and the fucking camera or the phone.
They had worked with him, but Ray was also working freelancing for them for what, like 5 months? He hadn't actually been in the office.
Yeah, but like they're the people that fucking stumbled upon this fucking hole in the wall. They're the ones that broke this fucking situation loose, and then they got put under a fucking potential gag order.
Specifically?
3 of them.
Those 3 of them specifically?
That's what it said.
Well, even
they're employed. They're employed under fucking Stansfield and Associates or Stansberry and Associates.
Stansfield and Associates made a statement where they said, "We're going to direct you to our PR department because that's what you do as a business."
Well, and it's weird because they talked you talk to Angel and Allison, and then they're like, Porter wouldn't even talk to them afterwards. And then, in subsequent interviews with Porter, he's like, well, what do I have to talk about? It's an open shut case, suicide. It's like, well, he didn't even attend the guy's. He
went to their wedding
in a private fucking helicopter, but he wouldn't attend either one of the fucking memorial services.
It's your childhood best friend.
I would ask you to put yourself in Stansberry's shoes.
Easy.
Sure.
He invited Ray to come out there. He also knew that Ray was not happy out there. Do you not think that for some reason that he felt partly responsible for the death of Rey Rivera? And perhaps there's many people process grief in many different ways. And do you think that maybe he processes grief somebody who is,
in a selfish fucking way and decides to not talk to his fucking widow or anything like that?
Perhaps he has narcissistic tendencies or something. He feels these things as superiority, but maybe that's how he processes grief, as a way to distance himself from people.
Sure. Okay. We got it. We're going to go forever here. So bottom line is this has happened. There's not a lot of cooperation going on between, it's not a murder trial, so they can't grand jury and all that stuff. So that's kind of a dead end that way, right? You can't get these people to talk. So what are you going to do? What else weird about this case can we go on?
Well, I have a theory.
Lay it on us.
I kind of read a little bit of it, and I was like, okay, it made some sense to me. One of the weird things about this is that Allison says, we talked earlier about Ray taking out a $15,000 credit card advance. And that was determined by the FBI or investigators that he had this $15,000 loan
for production gear.
Yeah. Well, Allison was like, well, I paid for that. I paid for that gear, and she had the receipts to prove it. She had the receipts for the same $15,000 that investigators said that he had taken a $15,000 loan for. So there was a mysterious $15,000 loan where they weren't really sure. Now, I'm not sure if this was a theory I had read online. I liked it, that because the thing that don't add up for me is the glasses and the cell phone coming from the roof of the Belvedere. It just seems like there's not enough damage for those things to have come from the rooftop, landed on the roof undamaged. It seems ludicrous to me. In this theory on Reddit, it says that he was lured to the parking lot, the parking garage, by either loan sharks, because he owed a lot of money. And maybe that's what he was talking to Porter about when he was saying I figured it all out. He was talking about some bad debts he's taken out. But someone had hit Ray with a car, had driven into him. And the theory wasn't sure whether or not he was hit with such force that it, from the top floor of the parking garage, that it launched him onto the roof and through the roof. How he, we could argue how he gets in the small hole after. It might explain the broken tibs and fibs.
Well, I'll interject really quick that is an extremely common injury with pedestrian struck fucking accidents, right? Because you look if you're hit by a car, that's the perfect fucking height to damage your tib and fib.
Yeah.
And we see that quite often in fucking ped struck accidents, especially the fact that it's a compound fucking fracture.
Okay, as far as I understand.
But let me finish. So he either gets launched or thrown off the top of the parking garage. Now, because he was hit with a car, all the other items were, if he's like me, I always, if I'm walking around, I should have my cell phone in my hand. Maybe that stuff was strewn. All that other stuff is tossed off the parking garage onto the roof, which is 20 feet down. If you're telling me, to be honest, a 20-foot fall for a phone and glasses to be okay is much more believable than a 13-story fall. So that stuff gets chucked over as an afterthought. Ray's already through the hole. He's fallen through. Let's say it's a weaker roof. That's why he punches through so easy. The other stuff is just, fucking tossed overhand over onto the lower roof.
What about the other multitude of injuries, though?
But that could come from falling from the 20 feet.
But that's only 20 feet. Like we talked
And then
about that
through the
already.
roof.
I don't
And also
that-
smacking through a couple of girders and then an additional 8 feet. Like,
you fractured pelvis, fractured fucking every single rib in his body, punctured lungs. I don't see that from a 20-foot fall.
Buddy, maybe
personally.
the guy didn't drink milk.
Yeah. Maybe he's fucking had arthritis or osteoporosis.
Right?
That would make more sense.
So that was what I
Osteoporosis.
thought, that like maybe he had got into some bad debt and dealt with some bad people. And because even what's her name, Makita, in her book, she states that on the night he was died, police say that like, oh, they didn't get a hold of anyone. No one saw or heard anything. But she actually wrote in her diary that they heard a big crash and it kind of rattled the window, and that she thought it was a car crash. And what better car crash than if a car was smacking into a person and then into the barricade of the parking garage right beside? Because she describes it as a car crash. Like she's like, I thought it was a car crash.
How did the car would have launched him over the barricade in 20 feet?
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. For me, that's the hard part.
yeah,
for this.
there would be a lot of questions with that theory where it's like, where there's skid marks, you would have seen skid marks, obvious skid marks of him hitting him. He wouldn't have got him through the barricade in the top of the parking garage, because that would have been at least waist high. It's at least waist high.
Wow, he's 6'5". I doubt it's waist high for him. But still.
But even then, if he would have hit that,
I don't think he would have made it over.
He wouldn't have made it.
I
over
personally
that
don't
far.
think. Like the thing, I don't see it.
Also, if you're a loan shark, number one rule is you don't kill your people who owe you money.
You're not going to get your money back.
You don't get your money
Ever.
back.
Dead people don't fucking pay debts.
Also, why would you throw the phone over there as an afterthought? Why would you not just take the phone? Because you're like, well, maybe that could be evidence for later. Like if this were like some sort of, there is the theory floating around out there that he was, somebody hired a hitman to kill him. Is the most incompetent hitman in the world.
No,
the best
he
hitman.
died. He did his job. I don't think there's any incompetence
and
there.
it's unsolved.
Yeah, but there are plenty. Okay,
That's a
the
fucking
layout
job
of
well done.
Baltimore, there are a lot better ways to kill a person than to throw them off. a
Yeah,
roof.
but you also killed a person and didn't get caught, so that's pretty fucking good.
But it raises too many. The fact that it got publicized.
Dan, what if
is
you
why
wanted to
it's-
send a message?
To a dead guy?
to who?
Yeah, maybe you did. We don't know. We have no idea. We have no idea behind this motive. Maybe they wanted people
We
to
have
find the
no
body.
idea if there actually was a motive.
Pardon me?
There's no idea if there actually was.
I
a motive.
agree, but we're saying that potentially if they wanted to leave the body for a reason, because he could have killed him anywhere and fucking got rid of the body. So obviously they wanted people to find the body.
What about the fact that he was looking too deep into the Masons?
Well, and that's a really good point, Braden, because you look into the Masons and everybody can say, oh, I got a cousin or an uncle or whatever that's part of the Masons.
Someone knows someone in the Masons everywhere.
But from in their core ideologies, the fact they're pretty much similar to Fight Club, right? Everybody knows cardinal rule is whatever they write, secrets, whatever the shit, don't talk about it. Don't talk about Fight Club. Don't talk about the Masons. Same type of shit.
Except there's a book. There's a book called Masons for Jummies. So
somebody's spoiling it, but
Someone's not
that's
following
the
the
most
rules.
part. That's you know what I mean. So you know what I mean. They don't want people to know. Maybe he's part of a, he's in the financial industry. Maybe this is a fucking pretty high up chapter of the Masons, right?
Some infiltrating top end 33rd degree Masons.
And we know what this guy wants to do for a living. What the fuck else would push this guy to the top other than fucking infiltrating some type of mysterious organization and fucking, making some type of film on it and breaking some of these secrets? You know what I mean? We all saw the fucking movie, The Skulls. Maybe that's what he was trying to do. Maybe he was trying to infiltrate this secret organization, potentially the Masons, or maybe he was just using the Masons to read up on secret organizations. We don't know. Maybe that blank check was his initiation fee for the secret organization, potentially the Masons.
And they found out about it, so they tossed him.
They fucking tossed him.
Maybe they were talking to him about his movie project, shooting on top of the Belvedere. Maybe that's why he didn't have film equipment in his car. He took it to the top. They were up there. They tossed him. Then they just stole the equipment and they left. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out.
Totally. For me, I like to think that maybe this was part of it. Maybe Stansberry was trying to bring him into the secret organization, potentially the Masons, and get him to be part of it.
Is Stansberry a Mason?
We don't know.
We don't know.
You're not supposed to talk about it.
You would know.
You're not. Why? Why would you know?
Because it would be in his background. Like he would probably put it on his resume or something.
How do you know
like
that though?
Like he would be on there.
How do you know? You don't know.
I can make up a whole bunch of shit about that. It could be like the fucking Stansberry and Associates hired a CIA guy for 2 months to write a fucking newsletter, and then they came out and maybe they had that guy go kill fucking Rey Rivera. Like
I like that.
Yeah, but what do you
that makes a lot of sense.
Here, maybe Rey Rivera was part of MK Ultra. Maybe that's why he was acting radically and crazy.
Okay, I'll bring it a little bit back into a little more grounded. So we don't know how he got to the roof. There's no one claimed in the hotel that they've seen him. No,
if he jumped from the roof.
I'm saying yes, but let me finish then. So the main theory is to make that big of a hole and have that much damage, it would make more sense for him to run and jump from the very top. Makes more sense than jumping a long jump from the parkade, which is only a few stories above the other roof. So if we go with that theory, no one's seen him get to the roof. Getting to the roof is not for the public. Number one, there's no guardrails up there on that old school roof. You wouldn't, liability wise, you couldn't have anyone up there. You'd have to have the fucking door locked. So if there's no one seen him go up there, no one witnessed him, there's no security footage, we assume he got up there, let's say, or there is other theories floating on the internet, is maybe he knew something too much about his buddy's company. And this is where it goes crazy. I'm going to say it. Maybe he didn't, there's no theory of, or no footage of him going to the roof, or no one seen him go to the roof because he didn't go to the roof. He was chucked from a chopper.
Yeah, see, now I've seen that theory too. And that kind of makes sense. Whether he was like fucking bound, you know what I mean? So which would kind of make sense for the pencil dive, right? But like, I just don't understand. Why would they want to leave the body for everybody to see?
Maybe it was a message, like you said.
Potentially. They could have just dumped him in the fucking harbor, though.
Baltimore is covered by like air traffic control. Like that helicopter would have to have clearance to go through
I don't know
there.
about that, Dan. Like I did a little bit of research on that. With helicopters, don't have to abide by the same rules that planes do. They don't have to.
If they went through Baltimore, yes, like over a populated city, and the people who would have been living in the Belvedere at that time probably would have noticed a low flying helicopter.
Yeah, but how often do they hear those noises?
How low would it have to be?
Shit like that.
It's a big city.
How low would it have to be? That's also
but I'm saying it would be that strange to hear a chopper flying above. Like there's probably you got news channels, you got police choppers, who knows? You got ambulance chop. Like it could be like there's probably choppers going in a big city like that.
You would have to be like there was a helicopter out there that day, and then it would not take a lot of investigation to find out where a helicopter had been.
I think it would be more rare for a helicopter not to fly over a fucking busy area like that than for a helicopter to go over and for you to take note of it.
I'm just saying maybe they didn't go that route. This is a theory that popped up many years later. Maybe if they would have went that route and they would have found all those records, maybe they would have found a little more.
I know that same theory you're talking about, Zell, because it goes into depth that like his friend Porter flew a private helicopter that he owns to Ray's wedding.
Yeah, but
right.
I heard that too, and that makes sense.
So you need a pilot. You would still need one or two people in the helicopter.
Exactly.
It's not a good way to kill somebody.
Listen, he's not a supervillain. He doesn't have a Thanos copter. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't have the ability to fucking, and especially at this time, like.
And then why drop him through the roof of the Belvedere Hotel, which is right across the street from Stansberry and Associates? Why not drop him out in the Chesapeake Bay, which is right next to Baltimore? The Baltimore is on just Chesapeake Bay. You could drop him in the water, knowing full well that Rey Rivera had an affinity for water. He was a swimmer. He was a water polo guy. Wouldn't it make more sense for him to drown than to jump from a great height when he was obviously, and it was well known that he was scared of heights?
Well, it potentially makes you think that maybe they wanted you to find his body, because I don't know if they would have found his body eventually.
The other thing is, let's get into what's Makita's name who wrote the book?
Makita Barcroft?
I thought Makita was her last name.
Both her and Allison. Makita wrote a book on this extensively about this and her dogs, according to Dan. And, you know...
Makita Brotman.
Makita Brotman. She and Allison both numerous times had been warned that if they dig too deep into this, they should just be careful who they talk to and where they talk to people.
Who warned them that, though? Who said that?
Just numerous reporters, police, and just people like that they had information about this case.
It's funny that you say that because there was a
lot.
lot of police apparently that were part of the Masons on this case, but
also a large number of a disproportionate amount of police are part of the Freemasons.
Convenient.
This is very accurate.
Convenient.
Why? Because
how
it's
convenient,
it's a fraternal order.
Dan.
If you're part of the police, which is also considered a type of fraternity, then why would you not be part of the Freemasons as well?
I don't know. I'm part of a fraternity and I'm not part of the Freemasons.
Why don't we get into...
You've never applied.
Maybe I could. I don't know. It's just not something that fucking is attractive to me.
What fraternity are you part of, Andrew?
Huh?
What fraternity are you part of?
Maybe it's like Fight Club. I can't tell you.
Before we get into final thoughts of what happened, why don't we just get into final thoughts? I forgot whatever I was going
I got a shit ton of theories here.
Let's hear it.
You guys should cut me short on my fucking Masons conspiracy. You fucked me on that one, Dan. You fucked me on my fucking Stansberry theory.
What do you mean fucked you? I just said like these is the actual evidence.
You interjected and you went on a Dan rant for 45 minutes and it's lost. It's gone with the fucking wind.
Gone.
Must have not been that important then.
Apparently not, because only things you say are important.
That's sometimes. So,
okay. Let's get into what we actually think.
Yeah.
Who wants to go
we'll
first?
just mute Dan real quick and then
yeah. He's just gonna be yelling, fucking waving his arms. I don't think this guy killed himself. I think he had made some poor investment decisions, and maybe got intertwined with the wrong group of people. And the reason I say that is because if you're going to kill yourself, I just can't imagine you're just crushing bags of chips and you get a phone call and you go, oh shit. You run out of your house, you run back in to grab something, you run out. And then while you're out, you're like, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to kill myself now. Like, to me, as someone who's never killed themselves, it just doesn't make sense to me.
But what happens if you're suffering from the Truman Show delusion?
Well, see, I still think there's some more nefarious things, and I think we can all agree that the police investigation into this matter was nothing slight of atrocious. They basically used this crime scene as a teaching ground. They were having cadets walk through, look at the body, pick up evidence. They didn't preserve the crime scene in the slightest. And then they left it. They didn't have it taped, nothing. People could walk through it. There was barely anything done to preserve any evidence from this to make sure that like any further investigation would get done. They were so open and shut with, this is a suicide. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. But there's a lot of things that don't add up. And for me, it's the cell phone and the glasses on the roof. It's the mysterious $15,000 loan for the same shit that Allison had already paid for on her credit card. And then the weird, like, paranoid behavior leading up to his death, with the alarms going off. What I think had happened, what always popped into the front of my head is that he got a call from someone saying, we have Allison here. Come here now and bring this. Bring money, bring whatever. And they lured him there. And the one reason I say that is because the one thing that has never been found is that Ray always carried this special money clip with him. It was kind of like his thing that Allison had bought him. He always had it on him. He always had cash on him. And that money clip has never been recovered.
I don't know. Like,
Right.
people lose shit all the time on a daily basis. You know what I mean? Like, for me, like the thing that stands out, what you just said, was the paranoia. Now, I totally want to believe that there was something deep and mischievous and dark and scary that was involved in this. But like, for me, the biggest thing was the fact his behavior in the last week of his life. Okay, that sudden shift in his personality, and then that fucking letter. When I read that letter, as someone who's dealt with paranoid schizophrenics in my past, like that's exactly what that screamed to me. These delusions of grandeur, comparing himself with other famous people and these actors and M. Night Shyamalan. You know what I mean? Like, it just oozed with mental illness to me. And that's unfortunately where I'm stuck. That's where I see it. I think Rey Rivera was an unfortunate victim of paranoid schizophrenia, and he took his own life. I want to believe that there's something more to it, and there's so much to this case file that leads me to think that I'm probably wrong, because there's so many loose ends. But at the same time, I don't know. I just keep coming back to that. Could have been the Truman Show delusion. Did he think he was in the game, the movie that he was obsessed with? Was he going down the Mason rabbit hole like a motherfucker and got all Heath Ledger preparing for this fucking film and went crazy? Potentially.
Right.
That's kind of where I'm leaning personally.
So you're saying that the mental illness led to his inevitable suicide, but so maybe he did jump from a parking garage because there's no way to get to the roof, really.
I think that he jumped from the ledge, personally. I think he found a way. I think he's resourceful. I think we're giving too much credence to the fact that people would have been alarmed by a person they didn't recognize, because how many fucking rooms are in that building? How many occupants were there? How many boyfriends were staying with them? How many cousins, uncles? You know what I mean? Like, you could have walked in and been like, hey, guess what? I'm staying with fucking Johnny over there. I need to get in. And he gets in. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it was a back door that he got in. Like, we're giving too much credence to the fact that the bellhop at the front door wouldn't recognize him and not let him in.
He would be an outlier for schizophrenia, because for men, the onset is what, 18 to 25?
Yeah, but that's where, for me, when Angel got so concerned about his whereabouts. And here's another thing that I thought about. You know, that note, we saw I don't know if Zell can bring it up, but we saw a good picture of that note. And one of the most bizarre things to me with that note was the fact that there was a piece missing of it. Maybe Allison read that note and there was an inscription on that note that was the part where he admits the fact that he wants to take his own life, and it was a suicide note. And maybe she was the one that cut that out.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. Dan, in the States, how does life insurance work?
He wouldn't have got it. There would have been a suicide clause. There's usually a suicide thing where it's like, you're not going to get it.
She had $90,000 in debt under her name that was bought by him.
You're not going to get it. In the United States Navy, when I was in there, you get like $100,000 life insurance policy issued out to whoever your beneficiary is. But if it's ruled suicide, they don't get it. I worked with somebody and they committed suicide and their family didn't get any of it.
Now, Dan, here's another question. This is interesting now for me. If it was ruled undetermined by the medical examiner, would that tie things up? If the police deemed it suicide and the medical examiner did undecided, do you think that insurance would fucking take the side of police?
It would fall on where the police ruled it. I don't think the ME can rule undetermined, but if the police conclude that it's a suicide, I still think Rey Rivera's case is technically open, but it's not ruled a homicide.
It's that's very interesting, Andrew. I never thought about it like that, but now that makes a lot of sense to me, that why that would cut, because that's a lot of money, and she's had to pay back every dime of that.
Right. After hearing Andrew, I mean, if you look at the trajectory of the jump from the ledge, that's like almost you just step off, right? You wouldn't have to take a sprinting run and launch yourself at the max a human male could run and jump to plunge through. You could just take a step off the ledge and you could just pencil dive. It's still very strange, and that's why this case has resonated through the true crime community for so long, is that if he did do that, no one's come forward in the hotel saying they seen him. No one can say how he got in. There was no
his cell phone and his glasses still survived that tremendous fall,
which is crazy. Like there's so much like I said what I said, but at the same time, I'm not confident. There's zero confidence coming from me.
That's why it's an unsolved mystery. Like you can go Occam's razor and like, yeah, he had mental illness and he jumped and maybe he hit a rotten part in the roof and he didn't need as much force as you would have hit in a different spot. Maybe it was a rotten part and you could have broke it just by walking on that roof. Like that does happen. And like if some roofs, it's an old place, maybe it hasn't been kept up. You get the water pools in that one spot, the membrane fails, it gets a little soft. So yes, it's very complicated. The thing about this case is you can't just explain everything away with like, yeah, he jumped from the parking garage, or he jumped from the roof, or he jumped from the ledge, or he was tossed out of a helicopter, or whatever. But it makes Occam's razor like the easiest way to solve it, or to say it's solved, is he had mental illness. Maybe, as he was investigating a role, or it was just maybe he had it his whole life and they knew about it and he was very good at keeping it under wraps, which does happen a lot. And the tragic end to this man's life.
Dan, what do you think?
I don't like true crime.
Really?
Really? What?
Dan,
Get out of
what?
town. Get out of town.
I'll go with Andrew's theory. It's fine. Psychotic break. Like that is what the most prevalent theory that the people who have put a lot of time into investigating this case, including Makita Brotman. It is probably the only person I know who's put in the most time. I don't know how much, a lot of people I think have got on the Rey Rivera train. I know the Netflix Unsolved Mysteries series put another, revive the case for a bit. From reading Makita Brotman's book that was published before a couple years before and they interviewed her for the series, Allison has already pretty much moved on. She had already kind of gotten past, or at least gotten over, the majority of the grief that was provoked by Ray's death. I know she's had 2 kids since then. There was some talk of her kind of like basing a movie around her experience of this sort, in the book, at least. And yeah, so having a sudden onset psychotic break, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think the whole people who kind of go into the conspiracy theories about, the Freemasons or Stansberry and Associates, like all that kind of stuff, I think is all a bunch of red herrings. I think it's just, yeah. But again, we do not have access to all the information for the case. We don't have access to the official police interviews. We don't have access to the actual Emmy report. We don't have access to all these things. So it's coming to these conclusions are based off of secondhand information, and that's it. Yeah. I'm not a forensic psychologist. I'm not a forensic pathologist. I'm not a forensic physicist.
You're a maester.
I'm just a maester. So I don't feel comfortable putting, casting aspersions onto people who may or may not have absolutely nothing to do with this thing. I know Stansberry and them, the guy has said is that he's received as far as death threats because for some, there are insinuations made in the Netflix series that he had something to do with the things. And I don't feel comfortable in making conclusions or putting that out there.
One thing that actually came out after the Netflix series was that I guess they were getting ready to release all of Ray's computers and stuff like that back to Allison. And the police told her that someone kept contacting them to get the computers back and didn't leave a name or anything like that, which is super interesting.
Yeah, anonymous person kept inquiring about the computers at the Baltimore police.
Which is super weird. Like what, like, you know what I mean? Like potentially maybe he did have something on these people. that they didn't want to fucking, obviously
I
the
totally
police,
forgot about that.
yeah, maybe the police obviously didn't find it, but at the same time, I don't know, super weird.
It's hard to find if you don't know what you're looking for.
Exactly. Or
Still
especially when you're
unsolved.
writing letters like what he wrote. Like, who the fuck has any idea?
You got theories on this case? Let us know on our socials, Instagram, Truth is Out There, Alien Theorist Podcast. You can find us wherever social media is.
Actually,
if you got theory-
direct them to Dan because he's very,
Yeah,
he
Dan.
wants to know.
He
Send
wants
them
to.
to Andrew.
No, Dan wants to know. He really,
Dan wants to know.
Andrew has the
Dan wants
most
to know.
relevant background.
And if you're listening
for
to this
true
and
crime.
you have any information about this case, because it's still an open case, contact your local authorities or the Baltimore police.
or Dan.
But other than that, or Dan,
What's his
other
phone
than
number?
that-
Can we read Dan's phone number for everybody? So we can call
Yeah,
him
I'll
directly.
post it live.
it's 1-555
867-5309.
Dano. Why don't we get into a little space news? Yeah. God damn it, man. It feels like every week we come on here, we're talking about something shitty going on in the ISS. They located the leak. They isolated the leak. They figured out where the leak is. And now the oxygen supply just failed on part of the ISS. But so far, everyone is safe. The oxygen supply system has failed in a module on the Russian segment of the International Space Station. But the crew is in no danger, according to Russian Space Agency, Roscosmos. Oxygen supply system on the Zvezda module on the orbital lab failed late on Wednesday, but a second system on the American segment is operating normally. So
Boom, America.
America is for the win again.
American space.
America
Number one.
space. But goddamn, man, they're having lots of issues up there right now. It feels like
That place is falling apart.
This is just a continuation. This is just the continuing issue of that. I think of that because they were having problems before.
oh, they've been having tons of
the thing.
problems
It was
with the air
leaking.
leaking.
Yeah, it's falling apart. We need Project Artemis up there. We need a new space station.
That honestly has to be like the suckiest experience. Like it's just like you see lights flashing, and you're like oxygen level low, and you're like, oh shit, like.
Yeah,
We're gonna die.
But then again, I don't know. I don't know if they're on there like, oh, it's just that one segment, so just shut it off. Because I mean, it's built. It's a modular construction, so it's like you. Can
it's
cut
meant to
off.
fail. Some parts, if they fail, they're meant to be able to just completely shut off and self-sustaining.
Right.
From
It's
it.
like a submarine where it's just like, okay, one piece is going to be like, whatever, just shut the bulkhead.
Yeah.
Whatever, you're fine. But it does have to suck where it's like, I imagine it's just like, oh shit. It's got to even be worse than being on a submarine. Now I think about it, because you're like, oh, you're in space. Like, how long is it going to take the people? Like, if you needed a specific material or something to affect repairs, like, how long is it going to take to get there?
Yeah, you can't just surface and then wait for a ship to come drop it
Yeah, you
off.
can't pull into another port and then just be like, oh, we got to fix this. It's like, I got to wait for somebody to launch a fucking space rocket up here.
Yeah, it's not like you can turn your submarine into a boat and get it fixed. It's like the space station's fucked. like it doesn't surface. Like, that's it. It either comes
it can't be
crashing
fun.
down or you die in it. Like, there's
Can't be fun.
two options. Next for space news, Beetlejuice is neither as far nor as large as we thought, and it's a total
Beetlejuice?
bummer.
Whoa.
Beetlejuice.
Stop
Stop
saying
saying
it. Stop saying that shit.
Michael Keaton?
What are you trying to do here?
it. Is that you?
get-
Someone knocked at the door.
Don't do it. Don't answer, Zell.
Oh, it's not Michael Keaton. It's just Gina Davis.
So the actual physical size of Betelgeuse has always been a mystery. Earlier studies suggested it could be bigger than the orbit of Jupiter, but unfortunately, results say that Betelgeuse only extends out to 2/3 of that, with a radius of 750 times the radius of the sun, which is still fucking huge.
Pretty big.
Like, I can't even fathom how big it is.
How big what is?
Betelgeuse.
Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice?
Betelgeuse.
God, they knocked again. Good thing I got
But
the
it's
door
not
locked.
nearly as big as they originally thought. Yeah. I guess it's weird because I thought that was such a known thing. So I'm like, oh, we're still learning about sizes and stuff. So all those like videos that I've seen of like scale of the universe, everything can be shrunken down a little bit because they were wrong about Beetlejuice. This one was one I was following a little bit. Started on October 15th. Experts were watching in horror as 2 dead satellites were on track for a potential collision. So this was an old discarded Chinese rocket stage and a defunct Russian military satellite were due to pass within 40 feet of each other on October 16th. There was a greater than 10% chance the objects would actually collide at an altitude of 991 kilometers.
A greater than 10%. So it could technically be 12%.
Well, yeah,
14%.
or 11. But 40 feet. So like I guess it's within their margin of error, I'm guessing. So they were worried. And it was between, 1 and 20%, I guess.
Wait,
being
20%?
Hit. They just don't know. I guess it's not an exact science. The combined math of both objects is 2,800 kilograms. So it's a fucking shitload of space debris. And, we've talked about it on here before about like the dangers of the Kepler effect. If something like this were to happen,
Kessler effect.
What did I say? Kepler?
Yep.
The Kessler effect, where it could render space unreachable.
What those collide, sending a chain reaction of debris hitting other satellites, would blow up and hit other satellites, and then space is just, or our orbit is just full of trash just flying around. We can't get out
at super fast speeds. Luckily, October 17th, little quick space news update. These 2 objects narrowly missed each other, but it's this high-risk junction of these 2 defunct objects is brought to light. We need to figure out what the fuck we're going to do, because if we don't do something, it's only a matter of time before some of these objects that we sent up in the fucking 80s and shit run into something.
Time to start our Alien Theorists Theorizing Space Trash Collection Agency. Done.
It's going to be a market for it.
I'm filing tomorrow for that.
It's weird because like literally dude, space is just, we got to start cleaning it up. And like they've lost the ability to contact some of these satellites that are just floating up there. They're just they're just floating. Like they can't contact them. They can't maneuver them. They're dead up there. They're just fucking sitting there flying around out of control, essentially. Flying at 14 kilometers a second or some shit.
No big deal.
Like fast speeds. Crazy. We got to start thinking about something. So hopefully Elon Musk's on it or someone.
Someone smart.
Space lasers.
Dan, come on now. We need you.
I told you it's going to be 4. It'll be 4 rockets, and then all connected, but are interconnected by like a large net.
Yeah,
and
I like
then
it.
You just like you fly it around that a certain trajectory, like major trajectory for most of the space trash. Pick it up, crash it into Mongolia somewhere. We're good.
I mean, why don't you just
desert up there?
come up with some type of like Megazord that can go up in space and slice them in half?
Also,
just devour it.
Good.
That'd be fucking cool.
Also,
or where's Galactus at? Get him to eat that shit.
Well, then he'll
Plan
eat
C,
it.
Galactus. Eat that shit.
If you ever wanted to shred the gnar on Pluto, now's your chance because they've just discovered snow-capped mountains on Pluto.
Say shred the gnar?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
That's a snowboarding term, Dan.
Weird.
I don't know.
Obviously, you wouldn't know.
I don't know.
No, I wouldn't.
So the NASA's New Horizons spacecraft has spotted snow-capped horizons on Pluto, which is interesting because this is something I learned today, is that Pluto is weird for like, if you're on Earth, the closer you are to sea level, the warmer it is, and the higher in altitude, the colder it gets. Well, Pluto, it's actually reversed. The closer you are to the surface, the colder it is. The higher you are, the warmer it is. And that's because of solar radiation. So it was, so I guess right at the mountaintops, there's a peak, it's peak for fresh pow pow.
Was it actual water or was it like methane ice or something ridiculous?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
So it wouldn't be shredding it would be shredding the meth.
Yeah, shredding the meth. That's all I had for space news, I think. Did you guys have anything?
No, let's we're going long here, so let's
We're going
Keep
long.
it moving.
No case file of the week this week. If you have a UFO story, a cryptid encounter, a ghost encounter, any kind of spooky story that you want to tell us, shoot us an email at alientheorists@gmail.com and we'll punch it into the randomatron.
Booyah.
That'll be for next week.
None of that. I'm going to give out a theory of the week.
2.
I'm giving it this week. So if you want to be theory of the week, you got to make us laugh with a meme, funny comment, something that grabs our attention. And usually they come from the Theorite Facebook group. So if you go to our Facebook page, you can join the group. This one is from Jack Pilston, and it's Boss Braden. It's just Braden's face on a guy in the white suit.
Oh, that's Boss Hog.
Boss Hog.
Yeah, that's Boss Hog. I tried to,
I do declare.
I tried to get somebody to do fucking Roscoe Pico Co-Train as Zell, but nobody fucking did it. I'm disappointed.
So Jack Pilston,
Pretty good.
you are Theorite of the week.
Yeah.
All right.
There's been some good stuff. I pop into that Facebook group every now and then, and there's been some pretty good
Oh man,
stuff.
the Facebook group has come a long way in the last year. It's awesome.
Yeah, there was a time where I was like, there was a very short time where, short period that I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, this is good.
Now it's mostly funny stuff.
Yeah.
Now it's mostly
Now
good
it's
stuff.
fun.
The
I'm
tides have turned.
on there all the time.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to read some new Patreons.
Yes, best part of the fucking
It's
show.
my favorite part of the show.
Lay it on us.
So,
Lay it on us.
what is it this week? Patreon supporting.
Whoa. Play the fucking song, man.
Who's playing? You want to hear it?
No.
No.
Turn that shit up.
Better?
There we go.
Oh, there we
That's better.
go.
Patreon supporting from October 12th to 19th.
The best part of the show.
We salute you. Sarah Greer. Jeremy Dunstan. Kevin Unra. Ian. Guillermo Rojas. Guillermo Rojas. Rebel Lee. Devin Cartelli went up. Emily Bennett. Brock Masters up to the top tier. Thank you very much.
Brock Masters.
Hugo Rodriguez. Melissa Jeffrey went up. Hopa Falopa. Marissa Lynn went up. Sir Dubbingsley and Michelle Hester. If you want to support your boys, support your favorite show, head over to our Patreon where you get early access to case files, bonus content, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And that's everything for this week.
And as we always say, keep those eyes on the sky.
Man, that sunset is gorgeous.
Grill, patio, sunset. Hard to get better than that. Unless you're browsing Carvana's inventory while you soak it all in.
Oh, burger time.
So sit back, get comfortable. Carvana's got thousands of cars under $20,000 just waiting for you.
I could stay here forever.
Carvana, where car buying meets comfort meets convenience. Download the app or visit Carvana.com today. That's not just the sound of that first sip of Morning Joe. It's the sound of someone shopping for a car on Carvana from the comfort of home.
That's a good blend.
It's time to take it easy, like answering some easy questions to get pre-qualified for a car in minutes.
Talk about starting the morning right.
Just like customizing your terms so your car fits your budget. Visit Carvana.com or download the app to experience car shopping the way it should be. Convenient, comfortable. Ah.